So as you probably gathered, TypeScript literally revolves around the idea of types. In this short guide, we're going to go over how we can create our own named types to make our code a bit easier to read. Okay, let's start with an example of some code that I've written earlier. So we have our variable, which is called amount in stock. It's a union type, which is a string or a number, and we've assigned it the value 1, which is a string. We then immediately reassign it in the third line to the number 1. Okay, let's say for example, later in the code, we create another value which has a matching type. So we've created another union type, which could be a string or a number. This is all valid TypeScript code, but it would be really nice if we could clean all of this up. So let's try and turn our union type, the string or a number, into a type of its own. So to do that, I'm going to create a brand new type, which I'm going to call string or number, and I'm going to set it to the union type that we defined below, which is string or a number. Now that we've declared our type, we can roll out our string or number type across the values below. Much cleaner. Hi there, just a quick interruption to let you know this video is part of a larger course called An Introduction to TypeScript. It's aimed at JavaScript developers who basically want to get up and running with TypeScript in about 2 hours. I'm going to be uploading the entire course for free on this YouTube channel over the next few months, but if you want direct access to the entire course like right now, there should be a link on the screen or in the description where you can get the entire thing now. Thanks again for watching, back to the video. In this exercise, we're going to be creating a new type, creating a type alias from that type, and then going ahead and using that inside of our code. So to get started, I'm going to once again create a new file. This one's just going to be called types.ts. I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to go ahead and just copy the work that we've done already inside of the union types file over to the types file. So I'm just going to jump over to the union types file, hit Command A, copy and paste that over into the types file and hit save. Because this value's already been declared in our project elsewhere, I'm going to go ahead and rename it to types city population. So I'm just going to go ahead and perform a quick find and replace and change all instances of union city population to types city population and then replace all. Okay, so in our union types exercise, we created a union type which was a string or a number. I'm going to go ahead and create a type out of that so it can be used inside of the rest of this file. Okay, so to get started, I'm just going to open up a few new lines and declare our new type. I'm going to call it string or number, so type string or number. And I'm going to assign it to our union type, which is a string or a number. Next, I'm going to drop down to wherever my type was used. So on line 5, we have our union type used here. I'm just going to replace that with string or number as the type and hit save. I'm then just going to hit Command and J to open up our terminal inside of Visual Studio Code. And then I'm going to run the TypeScript compiler by typing in yarn tsc-w and hitting enter. As you can see from the terminal, we've successfully created our type and TypeScript has no issues with our code whatsoever and successfully compiles it. And that is an example of how we could use a type alias. We've gone ahead and aliased our union type string or number to be called string or number, which is a little bit easier to read. If we were only planning to be using this union type inside of our file which concerns city populations, we could name it something a little bit more descriptive, such as city population, for example. But because I quite like leaving things nice and abstract, I'm going to opt to just leaving it as string or number for this exercise, but you can feel free to write it however you feel comfortable. Named types can be used to alias pretty much any type inside of TypeScript. That means that we're not limited to just union types or just basic types. We can even declare the shape of an object using a type. So let me just write a few more examples on types so that you can get a pretty good idea on how named types can be used in TypeScript. Before we carry on, I'm just going to clean up some of the code that we aren't going to be using in the rest of this exercise. So everything from lines 8 to 13, and then I'm just going to hit save. If we were working on an e-commerce project, for example, we might want to keep track of the stock count of an item in stock. Let's declare a new variable and just see how that could look. So let number of items in stock, explicitly declare the type as a number, and let's say that there are 500 items in stock right now. This is perfectly valid code, but we could make our code even more readable to other developers and make our intent as developers even clearer by using named types for this number type. So let's go ahead and create ourselves another new type. Let's go stock count, and that type is just going to be a number. Now we can change the type of our variable from number to be stock count and hit save. And as you can see, there are no errors here. TypeScript is perfectly happy with that. And we've just made our codebase just a little bit easier to read for other developers. The optimal time to use name types and type aliases like we have here is really when we are using that type over and over again inside of a codebase, like I said, to make it a little bit more easier to read for other developers on our team, or even to ourselves after we've been away from the file for a while. Let's see how we could reuse that stock count type. I'm going to change our number of items in stock to number of shirts in stock. Let's say we still have 500 shirts in stock. And I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new variable, and I'm going to go number of jackets in stock. Here we can use our stock count type once again. So I will explicitly declare the type as stock count. And let's say we've got 250 jackets in stock. This is a good use case for using name types because we can use it multiple times in our code base, and it just makes it a little bit more readable. Interfaces are the preferred way of declaring the shape of an object inside of our TypeScript code. But just for your own reference, you can actually declare the shape of objects too using types rather than interfaces, but it comes with a few drawbacks. I'll show you a quick example on what that might look like. I'll just open up a few new lines here and create ourselves a brand new type. This time I'm going to call it, let's say for example, shirt, and open ourselves up some curly braces. Now, just like we would with interfaces at this point, we can now declare the property name and the property type that we would expect to see on the object. So let's say in this example, our shirt has a name, which would be a string, and a number in stock, which would be a number. And now, just like we do with interfaces, we can now use our brand new shirt type as a way of typing our objects. So let's go ahead and declare ourselves a new variable, which would be my new shirt, and the type is going to be shirt. I'm going to open up our new object, add a name, which is cool red shirt, and the number in stock, which would be 100. Like I said, it's preferred to use interfaces over types when you're declaring the shape of objects, but just for your reference, you can also declare them like this as well. And that just about wraps it up for our exercise on types.